Hey guys, it's Serena. 안녕하세요. Welcome back to Fantastic Korean Dishes, where we cook up simple and delicious Korean meals. Today, we're going to be making 닭갈비. It's a very popular dish that comes from Chuncheon. It's about an hour away from Seoul. There's plenty of lakes and mountains. It's so beautiful. But you know what they also have? Plenty of restaurants that serve delicious 닭갈비. 닭갈비 is not only savory, but it's a bit spicy, and it will leave you very full and very satisfied. It's definitely one of my favorite Korean dishes. So if you're ready, let's get cooking. So today's recipe is for 3 people. We're gonna do 3 servings. Basically, we're gonna need boneless chicken legs, and you can think of 1 serving as 1 chicken leg. So here we have 3. I'm actually gonna use a separate cutting board for the chicken, just so that we don't mix the raw meat with the vegetables, just to keep it safe. But once you do take out the bone, sometimes you actually are left with some bone inside that's really stuck into the meat. So that you want to just slice off and have the bone kind of sticking out right here at the edge. And using the tip of your knife, just slice it off. And then you'll often see like these veins that kind of stick out, and that it's nice to just cut off as much as you can. You don't have to cut everything off, but it's good to cut some off because it does tend to be chewy. And then usually you'll have on one side a lot of skin and a lot of fat, and that's nice if you just slice that off as well. And you can use other parts of the chicken, but traditionally 닭갈비 is made with boneless chicken legs. And I don't know if you know, but Koreans love chicken legs. It's their favorite part of the chicken. They find it tender and juicy. So it's usually like the first piece that's gone. So I'm gonna cut it in thirds laterally. So the skin part is facing you. It's just much easier to cut it this way. Cut it in thirds again across. So you'll end up with nice bite-sized chunks like this. And set it aside as we cut the other vegetables. So I'm gonna cut the onion in half first, lengthwise. So you're gonna end up with 2 quarters. We're gonna use 1 quarter to just slice it up and mix it in with the other vegetables. And the other half is gonna go towards our seasoning. So first, we're going to just slice the onions into fairly large slices, okay, maybe about 1 centimeter in width. Okay, and for the other half, we're going to slice up just roughly, and we're going to use this as part of our seasoning. So we're going to just put it in here, and we're going to actually blend it just in a little bit. Let's put this aside. Next, we cannot leave out cabbage in this recipe. So we're gonna put in about 200 grams of cabbage. What we're gonna do is just slice it to about 1 to 1.5 centimeters in thickness. And we're just gonna cut it right down the middle. So you actually end up with similar slices as the onions, okay? So everything is bite-sized, a bit chunky. Next, another star ingredient in 닭갈비 is sweet potatoes. If you don't have sweet potatoes on hand, you can definitely opt it for potatoes. Slice off a bit off the top and off the bottom. So this is a half. And just using a peeler, I'm gonna peel from top to bottom. Okay, so what we're gonna do is cut the sweet potato down the middle, okay? So we're gonna lay down half of the sweet potato like this, and we're just gonna cut them in moon slices. And you really wanna use your weight for this because they are kind of hard to cut through because they're so hard. Next, we're going to slice some Asian leek. If you don't have Asian leek, you can definitely use green onions. Cut the Asian leek down the middle lengthwise and then stack them together. And we're just going to chop them into 3 to 4 centimeter lengths. Next, we're gonna put in some Korean perilla leaves. And once you've stuck them together, just fold them in half, like so. And you're just gonna slice off the stem. Next, we're going to cut it down the middle. And then we're just going to chop them again in about 3 to 4 centimeter lengths as well. So you'll have something like this. Now we're going to create our gochujang-based sauce for our 닭갈비. So we have our roughly chopped onions in here. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of minced garlic. This is about 1 teaspoon of minced ginger. Next, we're going to add in about 50 milliliters of water. So instead of the water, you can actually use soju or rice wine or any non-sweet alcohol, like a cooking alcohol that will really help to tenderize the meat. Today I'm just going to use water though. So I'm going to go grab my hand blender. And what you want to do is get it to a nice smooth consistency. Okay, so we're going to add in this mixture to a nice big bowl. So we're going to pour this in. We want a bowl that's big enough to not only have all the seasoning, but also we're going to put in the chicken and the vegetables in here as well. Okay, next, of course, we're going to need some gochujang or red pepper paste. You can get this at your local Korean supermarket. I'm going to scoop it into this mixture. Okay, we need 2 of these. Next, we're going to put in 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. Then we're going to add in 2 tablespoons of vegetable umami, and this is going to add to the savoriness and the deep flavor. Okay, next we're going to put in 1 tablespoon of red pepper flakes. We're going to put in 3 tablespoons of sugar or a sweetener of your choice. Next, we're going to put in 1 tablespoon of sesame seed oil. Okay, sesame seed oil is a must if you're cooking Korean food regularly. 1 teaspoon of toasted sesame seeds. And instead of just putting them in straight, what I'm going to do is crush them between my fingers to really release the wonderful flavors in sesame seeds. And then last but not least, we're going to put in about 1/3 of a teaspoon of black pepper. All right, we're going to mix everything, and I'm going to use a big sort of rubber spatula for this. So because the gochujang is thick, you can use a spatula like this to really press down and dissolve it. We want a nice, smooth consistency. Let's just have a taste. That's good. Lovely. And even though it's really red, it's actually not as spicy as it looks. So don't be scared. Okay, so we are done with the seasoning. Now we're going to put in our chopped up chicken straight into the seasoning. Next, we're going to put in everything except for the perilla leaves. Onions in, cabbage, the rice cakes in, the Asian leek, of course, the sweet potatoes. So instead of mixing everything together, the reason we put everything in this order and just having the sauce at the bottom, when I flip the bowl over, the sauce is going to pour down into the other ingredients as well. So yeah, this is a really easy way to save you a bit of time. Let's head over to the stovetop. I've turned up the heat to high heat for now, but we are going to bring it down. We're going to drizzle in some cooking oil. Today I'm using grapeseed oil. And when it's nice and hot, we're going to put in all the ingredients. Now as you cook, you'll notice that there's going to be a lot of water that's coming out from the vegetables, and that's good. That's what you want, because you want there to be a little bit more liquid. So once everything starts to really sizzle, we're going to bring down the heat to medium heat because gochujang has a tendency to burn quite easily. So that's another thing. You also want to be right by the stove top, and you want to be giving it a good stir at least once in a while, just to make sure it's not burning at the bottom. So be careful that you don't get this sauce splattering on your clothes. Actually, what's really interesting, it was actually a little bit of a cultural shock for me, but when I moved to Korea and I went to these restaurants that would serve things like 닭갈비 or dishes that had like a red sauce, they would always provide aprons for the customers to wear while they were eating. And that was so interesting, but it makes sense. It's so practical and it really keeps your clothes nice and clean. So now it's just a given. Whenever I go to these restaurants, I always put an apron on. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes and I can kind of feel that the sweet potatoes have softened, so has the rice cakes. I'm just gonna check with a chopstick just to make sure that the chicken is cooked thoroughly. So what I'm gonna do is just poke the chicken, and if the chopstick goes right through, it is done. So that's good. And literally in the last few seconds before you turn everything off, you're gonna add in your perilla leaves. These are very similar to spinach. You don't need to cook them for so long. We're just gonna sprinkle them on top and give that a couple tosses, I would say. And then turn it off. Okay, we're all set. Let's go taste this. All right, it is time to have a taste. I'm so excited. This smells incredible. I cannot wait. Okay, we're gonna start with, of course, a piece of chicken, and I think a cabbage. Because really, cabbage makes this dish complete. Mmm. 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 That is so good. The chicken is really tender, and then cabbage is a little bit sweet actually, and it's so delicious. Mmm. Let's try a sweet potato. Look at that. Mmm. Mmm. So soft and sweet. Mmm. This is so good. The sweetness is perfect with the spiciness. It really balances each other out. I am so happy that I got to share this delicious recipe with you. Usually people cook a lot of 닭볶음탕 at home, not so much 닭갈비, so it's definitely a very special treat, especially for your friends and family who love Korean food. They will be so impressed. Definitely give it a try at home, and I will see you next time with another fantastic Korean dish. Till then, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you soon. Bye!